Hello, this is my chamber guide on split. We're going to be starting off on defense on A. So first things first, I'm going to talk about if we have ult here, because it's like the way to like sort of see A in my opinion. So when we're defending A, there's like one big corridor, basically this one, where we can see basically anything that gets into A from this position. So, and chamber has a nice feature where we can use his rendezvous and sit in an off angle in a fairly safe way. So we're never going to get smoked off because who smokes this position. So we can always watch this as long as we don't smoke ourselves off with like one of our teammates smokes off. So you need to make sure that you comment that you don't want this smoked unless they execute. And obviously good smokes will help you do that sort of stuff. And basically we have the control of A main quite a bit like this. And good attackers will put like Cypher cages here, other smokes here, Viper wall defaults, that sort of stuff. But in ranked, most of the time people aren't going to do stuff like that. Maybe like the odd good player will, but most of the time you won't have to deal with anything here. You should get 3 kills and TP away, and then you'll have like a retake potentially. If you are worried about like, because you will get like one of the first kills here. So most of the time you do want to have a trap up here. So what this will do is it'll defend you from mid if your teammates don't defend mid very well, or if they seem to die and come vents, then you will have this additional like layer of help if you need it from vents. It will also mean like when you TP back over here, that these players that will come in after the person you've just killed can't just go up here super fast and like flank you. Basically, you'll know if that happens. And you can't like die from window if you want to come back into sight for whatever reason or something. So yeah, that sort of stuff is really important for A. Generally, this is what my setup looks like. I barely ever deviate from the setup on A, because generally on A, I don't really play with. I usually just have an operator on A whenever I play A. But when I don't have an operator, I will probably be playing something like Heaven. It's a bit safer generally, but at the same time, you are playing chamber, so you don't actually have to hit Heaven. Like I would have this TP. And sit Heaven, but you don't actually have to do that. You can once again sit in any kind of off angle as long as you've got a good read that they probably won't check your off angle, or they won't just in general off angle stuff, like they won't check my off angle, so therefore it should be a free kill. I'll have the advantage and that sort of stuff. That's what you want to do on A most of the time. But Heaven is generally safer because you're not committed in the site, but chamber doesn't really have that problem that other agents do, so you don't have to worry too much about it. If you go mid, I'll probably play vents. And I won't play vents in certain situations. One situation is that I have a brimstone. Generally, brimstone is going to like this area a lot more than chamber is. So generally I won't play it then. But there are obviously other ways. There's other times as well. But one of the times that I will play this, guaranteed, not really guaranteed, but like most of the time, is that I will have like something like maybe a shotgun, or I'll have a shotgun, or like I'll have like a decent read. They're going to go mid, or they have a mid. They like go mid a lot. And one important thing as well is I won't ever peek this properly. So there's like maybe on like bonuses, for instance, I might peek this like a guardian or a marshal or something. And I'll make sure that I'm playing to live more than to actually get the kill. So I might play really safe with my TP. I'll like pre-fire the angle and then TP away so that I don't have time to kill me. Or I'm going to be playing like this sort of off angle. And not actually peeking. The reason why is because these angles are not favorable angles for you. So you don't want to be really peeking them. Operator, sometimes you can do this, but I personally will kill you if you're operating here most of the time. So you know, I don't think it's really the best. It is a good line though, to be fair, sometimes. Maybe if I just don't play against good operator players, that might be it. But yeah. Generally, I wouldn't do it, even if you have an operator. I think it's better anyway to operator on A than it is to operator anywhere else on this map anyway. The reason why we used to like raise ops on A and things, we probably will see that again eventually, actually. And going back, talking about the shotgun as well. Well, yeah, if I have a shotgun, I like being here because it means that I can also rotate to ramp A, which is also a really nice area for shotguns. I don't quite have like the capability that Raze might have in this area as well with shotguns, so bear in mind with your comp like what actually is going to work, like when you go into like the buy range or the buy phase. Like I can't just buy a shotgun and expect to play here because my Raze is a shotgun and she's going to play there too, so I can't exactly play there as well. Like that sort of stuff is quite important to note when you're doing these sort of strats. My brimstone plays there every round. It makes a lot of sense for him to be there because he can smoke everything, so maybe I shouldn't play there. Next one is mid, like sort of this sort of area, so male and like B Heaven. Generally, you will be playing with a Sage. Sage will wall this most likely in most ranked games. Unfortunately, honestly, they'll do that without thinking. But yeah, so you have a couple of options. You can peek before the wall, or you can ask them not to put the wall, get a kill, then put up the wall, that sort of stuff. You can do this from here too, I forgot to mention. But yeah, generally you're going to have a tough time like getting like any real value from this area, I must say, most of the time. You can do, say if you don't have a sage, you can like, and they don't really pressure mid early. You can like get like this nice off angle here, which I quite like. Problem is it is a 50-50, so they can come either side. But generally, if you do see someone on the side you're not watching, you'll just insta TP instead of trying to fight them. But yeah, generally I don't really like it too much. I don't really play mid a huge amount on chamber. I'm usually sticking to the sites because I prefer them. But mid is definitely possible. And yeah, so and then with the traps on mid as well. So on A, sorry, I forgot to mention on like the vents one, you will be putting this trap too, just so you don't get flanked from like a ramp play. Oops. So you just get flanked by ramp play. And then on mid, like B, I usually just put it mid for when the wall goes down. We still have mid control, or like event like hot mid control that they can't just get through like passive sort of passive info. Next we're gonna go over on B. And on B, I'm usually playing quite aggressive. So I usually have my TP like this. And I'm either taking an early fight, and if I don't get an early fight, I'm going to be taking space. To a point where I'm going to have like quite a lot of space on B. Where I can kind of sit in this angle and get a free kill. A lot of people don't check this corner properly. They usually check it head height. When really I'm going to be elevated. So you will have a slight advantage. Just because of how people play this angle. But obviously as time goes on, it could get better. And generally, as more people learn this angle. So yeah, but most of the time people play it very wrong. You can also play on top of this box too. There's also an off angle. A lot of people don't just check on this box. A lot of people, when they peek this, they're not checking this box. They're checking this angle. They play it usually quite wrong, actually. And swing too wide and don't check the box. So you can play like this on this corner. And you'll probably kill someone peeking at a peek in or market. I can remember the name. Which is pretty good. And then that's kind of what I do a lot on chamber. Get myself in like really annoying off angles in advanced positions. That's kind of how you should be playing chamber. Being quite aggressive and making sure you're like taking the first fights and things. You don't really have access to much util. So you want to make sure like you're not like one of the last ones to be alive and that sort of stuff. Because you don't really have like you don't really have like the capability to like turn reigns unless you just like raw mechanics, right? So you need to try and find smart ways to take fights early on in the reigns to have really good impact. It's similar to Reina in that sense too. So yeah, that's what you want to come on do. You can also place a trap here when you're B. So when you actually get the kill over here, you don't just get rushed instantly. So you can run around here, and by the time you're here, they'll probably would have, if they were rushing, they'll probably be here about now and trigger this trap. So they can't just like come out instantly on you without you knowing. This trap will help you. It's something I call like layering on chamber, where you layer the trap. So then you TP, you can like TP like back behind the trap usually, but on this one, not actually true. You actually TP next to the trap and then, you TP next to the trap and then you run back around. It's kind of the same sort of concept. Very similar to A's concept as well. So we'll go over onto attack. Okay, so on attack, we're going to start with B. So generally there are 2 rendezvous I do on B. And maybe this one if I don't have a sage wall. So then I can like I can like lurk into this area. Like gonna like sit in this area and fight either heaven, which is not a really great fight, or I can fight CT. This generally should be smoked when I'm walking up here. If it's not smoked, then I wouldn't do this. Generally, this is only if like Sage is dead or if I don't know a Sage in general. Otherwise, you can do one like this. Isn't too great. This is usually if you're like one of the first ones out. Or usually you can just save it as well. You go out and put it in like this sort of area. You have a lot more pressure when fighting in sort of like the post-plant sort of time. Which is fine. If you're going to lurk as well, you can do it over here. Quite a nice lurk B1. Where you can, as long as you know you can get through mid and you can get to this position, you can kind of like get a kill on the first person B. So this is really good if you're like splitting mid and B, right? Because then your teammates will help you take tower and then you can sit tower. And then when you sit in tower, you can get a kill on the stairs person and TP away. Bear in mind that they won't be able to hear your TP back. So they will know that it's far away if they're actually like switched on. If they don't realize this, then they might just think you're male, which is actually quite good versus bad players. But versus good players, that TP doesn't work as well because it won't confuse them as much because they'll know exactly where you've TP'd. Although they'll have a decent idea that you've TP'd far away. They couldn't hear it. Okay, so next is going to be where I place my trap on B actually. So I don't really, so unfortunately with chamber, you have like the radius. So you can't really place great traps on this map. So I would recommend just placing a trap in mid like this most of the time when you're going to sites. Obviously not like that particularly, because if you're going straight sites then you can't really do that. But you can do it behind you if you're going straight sites. So if I'm going straight B, I just place it behind me to make sure like they can't just flank. But if you want like more map control and you have like you're going like sort of like a split in mid, then I like this one. The reason why I like this one, or technically you could do it, funnily enough, here.
That works.
Because it stops them. It gives you a bit more map control. Like they can't like run across here. And if you are populating mid, like you can actually just sit mid and wait for someone to like cross into like whichever side you don't have control in. So if your teammates are going garage, then you can like sit here and wait for them to like come up sewers, and then you have this trap to block this line. So they have to go through conventional ways to get there. Like that can kind of work, right? It's not exactly the most applicable on solo queue, because you have to have like really hard reads for that to be quite effective. And it's very hard to have good reads on against solo queue players, really, unless they keep doing it. Like, well, the thing is, once they've done it once, though, they're going to do it multiple times. So it can be really easy if they give you the free read, but if they don't give you anything, like sometimes they can be very erratic and stupid. Sometimes with some of their plays. Okay, so on A, I'm going to go over onto A. There's a couple more interesting like rendezvous you can do. This one's one of the least interesting ones, along with one over here as well. So this one will just help you take early fights. So pretty easy, but not the greatest of impact. This one is pretty good too for going on to site. This one will have a lot more impact than the previous one. You can fight anywhere on site. And then there is one more for ramp. So the one for ramp is very interesting and has some things you can do. It gives you more options. So you can go and place it here, and then when your team take ramp, then you can take one of the first fights on ramp once they like maybe they don't exactly take control, or maybe they play like a bit further back or something. Well, they can leave you here, and what you can do is you can take a fight. You can do this with operator as well if you want to, and you take the first fight, maybe in an off angle, and then you can TP back. And then you have options to either go this way, and if the enemy team is bad or the enemy stage is bad, they probably would have interplaced this wall, and it probably will be close to breaking, so you can actually lurk through mid. Also, there are alternatives as well, like maybe you break the wall mid, and then you run through back to then you run to A, or like walk to A. You can place your rendezvous here while rotating, and then you can basically do this play basically a bit later into the round. And the wall's been broken by you at the start with your teammates, so it makes it a lot more pressured that they're gonna basically there's a lot more pressure in mid, so you will have to be a bit slower, a bit more careful with where you play it, have a bit more of a read for the timing. But in general, like, it's going to be a lot stronger when you have that open space through the wall to get through, and you can maybe flank a bit faster, a bit nicer timings potentially available to you. Okay, so that's it for chamber on attack and just chamber in general. I will quickly go over his op. So his op, you just want to be making sure you're taking nice deep lines. This is one example, but there are plenty of other ones. For instance, you can also do one if the wall breaks in mid, so you break the wall as a team. You can literally just sit your chamber in mid and hold this line. There'll be a wall either side, right? So we have like a nice thin line to hold. There'll be like 2 angles basically max. Very unlikely they'll peek him, and when the wall starts to break, then he'll start like playing a bit more passively with it. Not doing this, by the way. Don't do this on it with the op. Only like hold. You don't have to do this with the op either. Don't do anything like this. Just hold with the op. You don't have to do anything fancy with your movement or anything. And that's kind of it for chamber in general and on split. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next.